Operation Crash Dive. I don't know what it is specifically about the Fireflash, but it always seems to warrant disaster. You remember in the very first episode, obviously, Trapped in the Sky, the Hood sabotages the Fireflash, and in this one, we get three Fireflash aircrafts that all get sabotage. The basic story here is that some mysterious sabotage is happening with these Fireflash aircraft, causing them to not only go haywire and their communication stuff to go haywire, but it also forces them to nosedive into the sea. Now, of course, this episode is split into two different scenarios, isn't it? In the first one, we've got international rescue coming in and saving the, well, I guess technically second Fireflash, saving the two pilots inside. And then the second half focuses more on international rescue playing Operation Escort, I presume, and trying to find out what exactly goes wrong at the moment of disaster.
It's kind of a very bad reputation, I think, that was based on... well, you can see the Fireflash is easily based on Concorde, and I mean, Concorde had a bit of a bad reputation, so maybe that was what Jerry Anderson was reflecting upon. This is what could happen if you had multiple Concordes going, you know, all over the world, and the big problems such a big sort of corporational conglomerate of aircraft could do. They could easily, you know, put loads of people's lives in risk.
But anyway, this is one of those Thunderbirds episodes where it's another one of those where international rescue play detective, a lot like the Cham Cham and the Man from MI5 and, you know, other episodes like that, where they don't only save people, but they try and figure out what it is that went wrong initially in the first place. Kind of like in Edge of Impact as well, where they try and figure out, not only do they save the guys from the tower, they try and figure out who it was who sabotaged Red Arrow. It's not too dissimilar from that episode, I find.
It's kind of like when international rescue are as much of a police force as well as a rescue mission. They're kind of they're like a combination of all the different types of private investigators and private services who offer themselves out to help people, which is kind of odd because they're not part of any kind of government program. They're just completely on their own, and they do everything themselves, and they were funded by Mr. Tracy's wealth. But at the same time, it's a non-profit organisation because they must have a great deal of money to live like that on the island if they don't, like, you know, take any payments or anything or any kind of advertising or sort of from anyone.
No, it all remains a complete secret, and you know, they're shrouded in mystery and they just fund everything themselves, almost like Bruce Wayne. But yeah, it's a very interesting episode, mainly because of these. It's very mysterious. You don't know what initially is going on with Fireflash. In fact, it's so much so that the climax is a little bit anticlimactic. You're like, oh, it's just another saboteur. A saboteur belonging to, I think they say in the end, some kind of mysterious gang that specialises in aviation sabotage. Which is...
Aviation sabotage. Now, wouldn't that technically make the gang anti-air travel?
I don't know.
Who the hell would want to be anti-air travel? Okay, let's look at this. We got the environmental hazards. That's very understandable, but you know, think about it. We're living in 2065, where they've discovered a very environmentally friendly fuel.
Yeah, they've discovered like atomic fusion and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, this is the future where supposedly everything is much cleaner. So why on earth would you want to be against what I'm supposing has now become one of the most primary and easiest forms of travel? I mean, probably in Thunderbird's world, you can probably get on an aircraft as easily as you get on a train today.
I think I know what it is. I bet after all these years of developing the technology, I bet the airline food has still not gotten any better. It's fucking chicken and mash again. It's not food, it tastes like a scab. I hate airline food.
I can't remember the last time I had airplane food, but I just know it didn't go down.
It's horrible. It'd be enough to turn anyone against planes.
Yeah, but still, that's not a legit reason to be against planes. I mean, we all like planes. I mean, okay, maybe... I mean, these guys can't have had, like, you know, a fear of flying or something, because you see the guy getting picked up by a bloody airship.
Yeah, you can't have a fear of flying if you're in an aircraft sabotaging.
And he has to parachute out of the Fireflash, which is just ludicrous. Where is the logic behind being anti-aircraft? I mean...
It's alright, Dimitri. Either way, international rescue have to save the Fireflash on multiple occasions. Now, the first one focuses on the Fireflash crashing into the ocean and sinking, trapping two pilots inside. So it's up to Virgil to drop Thunderbird 4 in. Thunderbird 4 goes down, cuts away the engines with a laser, and causes it to float back up to the surface and save them. Well, also interesting, while this is going on, Scott has to, like, I guess tune into their radio frequency to locate them, but he has to go all the way to Ireland to do this, which it brings up the most memorable scene, which is him in this little barn with this Irish farmer and these cows, and he's just like, oh, blimey, international fucking rescue, coming down here and...
That's going to cost you a load of money, another bloody €85.
€85! For fuck's sake! There's that wonderful scene of Scott just sitting on his mobile control in the middle of a barn, and that cow's just there like, and he's like, quiet Bessie, he's trying to save people's lives.
It's quite an amazing caper, Thunderbird, sometimes, because, you know, you just got this amazing 600-ton airliner that's probably lost the lives of 600 people, as the first one does in the opening scenes, and so you throw in an anti-aircraft saboteur, and you've got Gordon diving down to the bottom of the icy depths to save people, and you throw in an Irish farmer. What kind of formula did Jerry Anderson have in his head when he was making this?
I don't know, but it made for some very interesting TV, I tell you.
It's really good writing, I have to say.
Hey, sorry I'm late, folks. I had to milk the cows before I took off.
Then you come to the second half, where International Rescue take a more investigatory look at the craft, and they get Scott to fly with the Fireflash, help co-pilot it, and Thunderbird 2 flying alongside, so that they can just follow it step by step and find out exactly what went wrong. And of course, they do find out eventually that it's a saboteur. And once again he sabotages the craft, and Scott's life and the pilot's life are left in the capable hands of Gordon.
Yes, Gordon has a very interesting episode here. You kind of see that he's the most courageous of the five Tracy brothers, because he's doing all the heavy work in this way. He's putting his life on the line. He's being injected into a moving aircraft.
Yeah, shot from Thunderbird 2 into not only a moving aircraft, an aircraft that's going down into the ocean.
And he's already saved a load of men from being right at the bottom of the ocean.
And to really top it off, you know, he actually gets 2 wires. That's how he saves the aircraft. Picks up these 2 wires and literally just puts them back together again.
So pretty much this episode ends with Gordon quite subconsciously becoming International Rescue's token electrician.
Tintin and I were just putting the apple pies in the oven and the darn fuse blew.
Oh, I'm sure Gordon will soon fix that, Grandma.
Yeah, you remember what you said after the Fireflash episode, Gordon? Just like fixing a fuse, you said.
Here I go again.
Well, I guess we know that if Gordon never got expelled from International Rescue for many reasons, he could always find work as an electrician, maybe.
Yeah. Talking of neglected sons, we do see John... Talking of neglected sons, you know where this is going. John Tracy once again appears back on the island, and he does fuck all. Scott, Virgil and Gordon are the main people who take part in the rescue, and even Alan, who's taking his turn up in the space station, even he is involved somehow in some very loose way in the rescue, establishing communication. John, sitting at home playing with his phone. I don't get why it's so hard for Jerry Anderson to just get John to do something.
Yeah, I know, there should be like some kind of petition, you know, give John more roles. I sure hope that's what they're doing in the new Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
You know, give John a bigger role.
Give John a go.
You know, give John a chance.
I don't get it. He really is like the most neglected character on the show, if not one of the most neglected characters in all of popular culture.
Yeah, maybe he plays on that. Maybe he likes the fact that he hardly has anything to do, so maybe he's just enjoying himself. Whilst they're all out there saving people's lives, put their lives in risk, he's just sitting by the pool just with his cigarette and book and thinking, this is the life. Either this or up in space. It's good.
And as well as that, talking that you mentioned, Paul, there is we see a lot of different rooms in Tracy in the Tracy household that we haven't seen before. We see the boys shooting some pool in the billiards room that we hadn't seen yet, and we see even a shooting range where Gordon, as we know he's a great shot from Perils of Penelope, is popping off a few rounds.
Yeah, he really is kind of the badass of the group, Gordon, and he's also funny at the same time. So I'm kind of thinking, is he becoming one of these like all-rounded characters, just both funny but also badass?
Yeah, he's certainly one of the more well-rounded characters of the group, along with Scott and Virgil. Even I would say even more so than maybe Al. Well, I suppose we haven't gotten to that many episodes yet that focus heavily on Alan. Of course, the two spin-off Thunderbirds movies, Thunderbirds Are Go, Thunderbirds 6, they focus heavily on Alan. But so far, Gordon seems to be more of a well-rounded character even than Alan.
Because you got Scott doing the intelligent stuff and Virgil doing the heavy work. It was just that Gordon seems to be the middleman who can rush between all these different roles and places in the rescue, so he can be like the go-between who ends up doing all the work.
And then there's John.
Who's
just John.
And then there's John. That's going to become like a running gag now. And then there's John.
And then there's just John. The accident.
Yeah. I guess maybe he was the biggest accident. Maybe he
is the second child. He can't have been that much of an accident. We're going to have 5. I mean, it's one of those standout episodes, mainly because I guess all of the cast gets involved, except for John. All of the cast gets involved. You got 2 very distinctive halves, kind of like, not End of the Road, that one with the wrist bombs, I've forgotten it already.
30 Minutes Afternoon.
30 Minutes Afternoon, and certainly some inspiration from Age of Impact with the sabotaging of the aircraft. But yeah, it's a very good episode, I liked it.
Yeah, very enjoyable, lots of action and seeing a lot of the characters getting their money's worth.
And very tense at the end as well.
Yep, well, another good episode, and what's the one coming next?
I don't know what the next one coming next is. You'll have to wait and see.
Otherwise we'll see you around.
FAB.
FAB.